Chapter 1. The Battle of Helios V. The air on Helios V was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of plasma fire. The once lush forests of the colony world were now charred ruins, the ground littered with the wreckage of war machines and fallen soldiers. Sergeant Elias Vance crouched behind a shattered barricade, his pulse rifle humming in his grip as he scanned the battlefield. The war between humanity and the Zorathians had raged for years. The Zorathians, tall reptilian warriors with crimson scales and glowing amber eyes, were relentless conquerors. They showed no mercy, and humanity had learned to respond in kind. But today was different. Through the haze, Elias spotted movement. A lone Zorathian warrior staggered forward, clutching a deep wound in his side. His armor was cracked, his once proud stance broken. The alien's gaze locked onto Elias, and for a moment neither moved. Then, to Elias' shock, the warrior dropped to his knees. "Human, I beg for mercy," the Zorathian rasped, his voice a guttural growl but unmistakably pleading. Elias tightened his grip on his rifle. "Mercy. Your kind doesn't know the meaning of the word." The warrior bowed his head. "I am Varek of the Bloodclaw clan. My squad is dead. My ship is destroyed. I have no home to return to." His glowing eyes flickered with something Elias had never seen in a Zorathian before. Desperation. "I swear loyalty to you, if you spare me." Elias hesitated. This had to be a trick. But the warrior made no move to attack. He simply knelt, waiting. "Why should I trust you?" Elias demanded. Varek lifted his head. "Because if you do not, I will die here. And I would rather serve than perish for a war I no longer believe in." The battlefield was silent. Somewhere in the distance, artillery rumbled, but here in this ruined clearing, a decision had to be made. Elias lowered his rifle. Chapter 2. A Fractured Alliance. The human outpost was in chaos when Elias returned, dragging the wounded Zorathian behind him. Soldiers raised their weapons instantly, shouting in alarm. "Stand down," Elias barked. "He's unarmed." Captain Reyes stormed forward, her face twisted in fury. "Have you lost your mind, Sergeant? That's a Zorathian." "He surrendered," Elias said. "He wants to defect." Reyes' eyes narrowed. "And you believed him?" Varek coughed weakly, blood dripping from his scaled lips. "I can't prove my loyalty." "How?" Reyes snapped. "The Zorathian fleet is planning an attack on this outpost in 2 days, Varek said. "I can tell you their strategy. If you let me live." The room fell silent. Elias watched the conflict in Reyes' eyes. Trusting an alien was madness. But if Varek was telling the truth, "Lock him up," Reyes ordered. "Interrogate him. If he's lying, we execute him. If he's not," she glanced at Elias, "then we'll see." Chapter 3. Proving his worth. 4 hours Varek was questioned. He revealed troop movements, attack patterns, and weaknesses in Zorathian armor. The intel checked out. When the Zorathians attacked, humanity was ready. The ambush was crushed, and the outpost stood firm. After the battle, Reyes approached Elias, her expression unreadable. "Your pet alien saved lives today." Elias nodded. "So he stays." Reyes exhaled sharply. "For now. But one wrong move, and I put a bullet in his skull myself." Over the next weeks, Varek worked alongside the human soldiers. He fought with them, ate with them, even saved a young private from a collapsing bunker. Slowly the distrust faded. But not for everyone. Corporal Dex, a hardened veteran, sneered at Varek at every opportunity. "He's waiting for the right moment to slit our throats," he muttered. Elias ignored him. But Dex's hatred festered. Chapter 4. Betrayal and Redemption. One night the alarms blared. A Zorathian strike team had infiltrated the base, not to attack but to retrieve Varek. "Traitor!" Dex shouted, raising his rifle at Varek. "You led them here." Varek's eyes widened. "No, I did not call them." Elias stepped between them. "Stand down, Dex." But it was too late. Gunfire erupted. Varek moved with inhuman speed, shoving Elias aside as a plasma bolt meant for him struck Dex instead. The Zorathian assassins closed in. Varek roared, tearing into them with claws and fury. When the dust settled, the attackers were dead, and Dex was bleeding out. Varek knelt beside him, ignoring the weapons still trained on him. "I did not want this," he said quietly. Dex coughed, his hatred fading into confusion. "Why save me?" Varek met his gaze. "Because loyalty is not earned through bloodshed, but through honor." Dex's eyes closed, but he was still breathing. Chapter 5. A Warrior's Oath. After that night everything changed. Varek was no longer just a prisoner or an asset. He was one of them. At the war's end, when peace treaties were signed, Varek stood beside Elias as a free being. "What will you do now?" Elias asked. Varek placed a clawed hand over his heart, a Zorathian gesture of loyalty. "My oath remains. Where you go, I follow." Elias smiled. "Then let's go home." And together, the human and the alien warrior walked into the future, no longer enemies but brothers in arms. Chapter 5. A Warrior's Oath. The war was over. Peace treaties had been signed in the ruins of a dying empire, and the guns of humanity and the Zorathian dominion finally fell silent. The soldiers of Helios V, once hardened by years of brutal combat, now stood in uneasy relief, their weapons lowered but their hearts still guarded. Sergeant Elias Vance stood at the edge of the outpost's landing zone, watching the first transport ships descend through the smoke-stained sky. They carried the wounded, the survivors, and, for the first time, no new orders for battle. Behind him, Varek stood motionless, his crimson scales dulled by dust and dried blood. The Zorathian's amber eyes flickered as he observed the humans around him. Some still glared at him with suspicion, others with reluctant gratitude. None looked at him as one of their own. Elias turned to him. "You're free now. The war's done." Varek's claws flexed, then stilled. "Free," he repeated, as if testing the word. "Where does a warrior go when there is no war?" Elias exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Home, I guess. If you've got one." Varek was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he placed a clawed fist over his chest, the Zorathian gesture of fealty. "I swore an oath to you, human. My life is yours." Elias blinked. "Varek, you don't owe me anything. You saved as many lives as I did. More, even." "It is not debt that binds me," Varek rumbled. "It is honor." Elias studied him, the way the alien held himself, the unshakable resolve in his gaze. He had seen that same look in human soldiers who had lost everything but still stood tall. A smirk tugged at Elias' lips. "You're really set on this, huh?" Varek gave a single, solemn nod. Elias chuckled, shaking his head. "All right then. But if you're sticking around, you're gonna have to learn how to drink real alcohol. None of that Zorathian venom ale crap." Varek's lips peeled back in what might have been the closest thing to a smile his species could manage. "I accept this challenge." Epilogue: Brothers in Arms. 3 months later, on a quiet orbital station above Earth, Elias sat at a dimly lit bar, a half-empty glass of whiskey in front of him. Across the table, Varek loomed, his massive frame barely fitting in the human-sized chair. The Zorathian held a glass of his own, the liquid inside a deep, shimmering blue. "You were right," Varek admitted after a long sip. "This is better." Elias grinned. "Told you." Around them, the bar's patrons cast wary glances at the alien, but none dared speak up. Not after the news feeds had broadcasted Varek's heroics, how he had fought alongside human soldiers, saved lives, and even been granted honorary citizenship by a grateful Earth government. Still, acceptance was slow. "You ever regret it?" Elias asked suddenly. "Staying?" Varek's gaze darkened, but not with regret. "I have seen the heart of humanity. Your kind wages war with the same fury as mine. But you also show mercy. That is a strength my people have forgotten." He lifted his glass. "I do not regret my choice." Elias clinked his drink against Varek's. "Then here's to peace. And to one hell of a story." Varek's eyes gleamed. "To the next battle." Elias groaned. "Damn it, Varek." The Zorathian let out a low, rumbling laugh, a sound Elias had once thought impossible from a creature bred for war. Outside the bar's viewport, the stars burned cold and distant. But for the first time in years, the future didn't feel so uncertain.